Hello and welcome to Courts Today by Live Law. I am Urvashi Chauhan with your daily roundup of legal updates from across the country. We will talk about what the Supreme Court said about compensation claims by legal heirs of negligent drivers and why it suspended the sentence of Vismaya's husband in the dowry death case. We will also explain the Supreme Court's response to the HDFC Bank CEO's plea to quash the FIR filed by Lilavati Trust and how the Delhi High Court clarified the rules on disability pension for armed forces personnel. Also, we will tell you why the Allahabad High Court granted interim bail to a POCSO accused in an interfaith relationship case with conditions and how the Karnataka High Court questioned the state for suspending police officers after the Bengaluru stampede. Let's get started. Make sure to watch this till the end and do not forget to like, share, subscribe and hit the bell icon. HDFC Bank CEO has moved the Supreme Court to quash frivolous FIR filed by Lilavati Trust. An FIR was filed against HDFC Bank's Managing Director and CEO Shashidhar Jagdishan by the Lilavati Kirtilal Mehta Medical Trust. The allegation is that Jagdishan accepted a bribe of 2.05 crore from former trustee Chetan Mehta in return for financial advice and helping him retain control over the trust's affairs. The trust has also accused Jagdishan of misusing his position as the head of HDFC Bank to interfere in the internal governance of the hospital trust. Now, Jagdishan has approached the Supreme Court seeking to quash the FIR, stating that it is frivolous and has been filed with the intention of arm twisting the bank, which is in the process of recovering money from the trust. Senior advocate Mukul Rohtagi, appearing for Jagdishan, told the Supreme Court that 3 separate benches of the Bombay High Court have already recused from hearing the matter, which has caused repeated delays. He said that the next hearing in the High Court has been set for 14th July, but even that date is tentative. The actual issue, according to Jagdishan's legal team, is an internal dispute between the 2 groups of trustees within the Lilavati Trust. They claim that one group, in order to pressurize the bank and its MD, has misused the legal process by lodging a criminal complaint through the magistrate. Rohtagi told the court that this was not just harassment of an individual but was affecting the entire bank, which is suffering on a daily basis due to pendency. Initially, the matter was listed before a Bombay High Court bench of Justices Ajay Gadkari and Rajesh Patil on 18th June, but Justice Patil had recused. Then it was brought before Justices Sarang Kotwal and Sham Chandok, but Justice Kotwal also recused. Later, it went before Justices Mahesh Sonak and Jitendra Jain, where Justice Jain recused after disclosing that he holds shares in HDFC Bank. Adding to the difficulty is an administrative order of the High Court, which already bars Lilavati Trust matters from being listed before 6 other judges. Well, the Supreme Court has now agreed to hear Jagdishan's plea and has listed the matter tomorrow. Stay tuned. In the next update, the Supreme Court has reiterated that there can be no compensation to the legal heirs of a driver who dies due to his own negligence. In this case, a man named N.S. Ravisha died in a car accident while driving at high speed in a rash and negligent manner. After his death, his wife, son and parents filed a compensation claim of 80 lakhs under Section 166 of the Motor Vehicles Act, saying that they should be compensated for his death. But there was a key legal issue here. Since Ravisha was the one driving negligently, can his own family claim compensation under the law? Well, the Motor Accident Claims Tribunal rejected their pleadings, saying that Ravisha himself was the tortfeasor or the one at fault, and legally a person or their family cannot benefit from their own wrongful act. The family then approached the Karnataka High Court, which also dismissed their case. The court relied on earlier Supreme Court judgments and said that allowing compensation in such a case would mean rewarding someone for their own wrongdoing, which the law does not permit. The family argued that since Ravisha was not the actual owner of the car, he had borrowed it, the insurance company should still pay. But the High Court rejected this also, saying that someone who borrows a vehicle is legally treated like the owner and cannot claim compensation for death caused by their own negligent driving. Now the matter reached the Supreme Court. A bench of Justices P.S. Narasimha and R. Madhavan refused to interfere with the High Court's ruling. The court clearly reiterated that if a person dies due to their own negligent driving, their legal heirs cannot claim compensation under Section 166 of the Motor Vehicles Act. And now an update on the Vismaya case. Kiran Kumar, the man convicted for death of his wife Vismaya in a dowry harassment case, has been granted interim bail by the Supreme Court. A bench of Justices M.M. Saundaresh and K. Vinod Chandran passed an order suspending his 10-year sentence and allowed his release while his appeal is being heard. This case, if you remember, goes back to 2021 when Vismaya, a 22-year-old Ayurveda medical student, died by suicide less than a year after her marriage. She had allegedly faced repeated dowry-related cruelty. Kiran Kumar, her husband, was working as an assistant motor vehicle inspector at the time. The case shocked Kerala and drew widespread attention to the issue of dowry debts. The trial court in Kollam found Kiran Kumar guilty under various provisions of the Indian Penal Code, including Section 498A, that is for cruelty to a woman, Section 306 for abetment of suicide, and Section 304B, that is for dowry death. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison and ordered to pay a fine of 12.5 lakh. The court had also taken note of messages and photos Vismaya had sent to her classmate and sister-in-law, which described the instances of physical and emotional abuse. Witnesses confirmed repeated acts of cruelty, including harassment over the model of the car that was given as dowry. Kiran Kumar's appeal against the conviction is currently pending before the Kerala High Court. However, since the High Court had refused to suspend his sentence, he approached the Supreme Court through a special leave petition. The top court has now allowed his interim release while the legal process continues. Moving further, the Delhi High Court has strongly affirmed that disability pension for armed forces personnel is not a charity or an act of generosity, but a rightful acknowledgement of their sacrifice and service. A bench of Justices Naveen Chawla and Shailendra Kaur made this clear while hearing a batch of cases filed by Union government challenging orders of the Armed Force Tribunal that had granted disability pension to several personnel. So, disability pension is a financial benefit provided to armed forces personnel who suffer from a disability or disease that is attributable to or aggravated by their military service. It ensures that a soldier who suffers injuries or illness during the course of duty, even if not during war, is not left without any economic support. The core legal issue before the court here was whether a disability or illness that occurred during military service, even at a peace station, but was not present at the time of joining, should be considered as attributable to or aggravated by service conditions under the entitlement rules of 2008. The High Court said that yes, military service is inherently stressful and demanding even in peace stations. Soldiers face a range of physical and psychological pressures from long working hours, constant readiness, harsh terrains to mental stress from being away from family and living in isolated conditions. The court criticized the approach of release medical boards that denied disability pension without providing detailed reasons. It said that the RMBs must offer clear and well-reasoned explanations if they are to say that a condition is not linked to service. It also rejected the blanket use of the term lifestyle disorder, saying that each soldier's case must be individually assessed. Just labeling a disease like hypertension as a lifestyle issue cannot be enough to deny disability pension. The court emphasized that the benefit of disability pension must be interpreted liberally in favor of those who deserve it and upholds the state's responsibility towards those who have served the nation with courage. With this, the court dismissed union government's pleas and upheld the claims of the armed forces personnel for disability pension in these cases. The Allahabad High Court has granted 2 months interim bail to a 20-year-old man who is facing charges under the POCSO Act and the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita in a case involving a minor girl from a different faith who is now 5 months pregnant. The court, while granting the bail, said that the applicant is being released so he can look after the minor victim who is alleged to be in a relationship with him. The bench of Justice Rajesh Singh Chauhan also made it clear that the intention or confirmation of bail will be considered on the next date of hearing, that is 3rd September, based on the conduct of the applicant and the satisfaction of the victim and her mother. The court directed that in September, the applicant, the prosecutrix, and her mother, who is also the complainant, must appear before the court in person and inform whether the girl is being properly taken care of and is satisfied with the applicant's efforts and support. Interestingly, the court noted that both the parties have a willingness to marry each other under the Special Marriage Act once they attain the legally permissible marriage age. Accordingly, the court recorded that the couple should apply for marriage registration as soon as possible and as soon as they are legally eligible. In the meantime, the man has been directed to look after the girl, ensure she gets all necessary medical care during her pregnancy, and provide complete support. The accused has been in custody since March this year, facing charges under sections 137(2), 87 and 64(1) of the BNS, which deal with aggravated penetrative sexual assault, offense against a child, and abetment of offense, respectively. Along with this, he has also been charged under sections 5J subsection 11 and section 6 of the POCSO Act, which also deal with aggravated penetrative sexual assault on a child and its punishment. His counsel argued that the relationship was consensual, and though both are underage for legal marriage, they had already married in private, and the boy now wants to formalize it under the law and take full responsibility. Even the victim's mother supported the plea and told the court that she had no objection to their proposed marriage. Taking into account the interest of the minor victim, her unborn child, and the fact that both families are agreeable to the marriage, the court allowed interim bail, but it made clear that the continuation of the bail will depend on whether the boy fulfills his responsibilities sincerely. In another update, the Karnataka High Court has asked the state government to justify its decision to suspend police officers, including senior IPS officer Vikas Kumar, following the stampede near Chinnaswamy Stadium ahead of RCB's IPL victory celebration in this year. The bench of Justice S.G. Pandit and Justice T.M. Nadaf was hearing the state's appeal against the Central Administrative Tribunal's order, which quashed the suspension of Vikas, observing that there was no convincing evidence of negligence on his part. The High Court orally asked the state, was suspension really necessary, or would transferring the officers have been enough? The Advocate General Shashi Kumar Shetty defended the action and said that he would produce records to prove the suspension was justified. He also requested a stay on the CAT order, noting that the officer had already returned in uniform to take charge. Senior Advocate Dhyan Chinappa, appearing for Vikas, said that he was not pressing for a contempt petition against the state and would not take any aggressive action till the case is finally decided. The court acknowledged this and advised both sides not to precipitate any further action. The matter is now posted for further hearing on 9th July. The background here is the stampede that occurred during RCB's victory celebrations, in which a crowd of 3 to 5 lakh people gathered, leading the government to suspend 5 officers for alleged negligence and failure to control the crowd. Among those suspended officers were Commissioner of Bengaluru City, DCP Central Division, ACP Kaburn Park, and Police Inspector of Kaburn Park Police Station, along with Vikas Kumar. However, only Vikas approached the CAT, which ruled in his favor, saying that there was no real basis for holding him negligent. The tribunal observed that the event was organized by RCB and police were informed only 12 hours before, leaving them with very little time to prepare. It said that police are not gods or magicians with a magic lamp to instantly control such massive crowds. It ordered the government to reinstate Vikas immediately with full salary and benefits, treating his suspension period as time on duty. And lastly, the Supreme Court today refused to interfere with the Calcutta High Court order that had imposed a cost on the union government for delaying its appeal in a narcotics case. However, the court modified the order slightly, saying that the cost should be paid by the union government and not by the individual officers involved, as earlier directed by the High Court. A bench of Justices M.M. Sundaresh and K. Vinod Chandran also reduced the cost from 1 lakh to 50,000, noting that while there was a lapse, the officers need not be penalized personally. Well, the case began when Special Court acquitted the accused in an NDPS case on 7th June last year. However, the union government filed its appeal over 9 months later on 17th March this year without proper procedural compliance. The Calcutta High Court, in its 16th June order, found the delay unexplained and had imposed a cost of 1 lakh rupees, directing that it be recovered from the officers responsible. Though the government later tried to fix the mistakes and claimed that it acted in good faith, the High Court allowed it to withdraw the appeal but still ordered the cost to be paid. The union government challenged this in the Supreme Court, saying that the penalty was harsh and unjust. But the Supreme Court was not entirely sympathetic. Justice Sundaresh pointed out that the delay was serious and also questioned the government's repeated delays in filing appeals. In the end, the top court refused to set aside the cost but clarified that the union government and not individual officers will pay, and the money will go to State Legal Services Authority. Well, this matter highlights the court's frustration with systemic delays in government litigation and reinforces that rules and timelines must be respected even by the state.